This is the Bizgnus Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Once upon a time, there was a business. And after that sentence, the fable about your business can grow to have a happy ending or a tragic one. And when it comes to business fables, Michael Levin has written a lot of them. He joins us for this Bizgnus Podcast to talk about the power of the business fable. And he's not talking about dragons or giants at the other end of the beanstalk.
Business fables are about telling untruths to arrive at truths. We're telling stories in order to make points. And it's more in the nature of a parable than the 7 things you must know in order to master whatever. People just like stories. It's just how the human mind works. We love a great story. We love sitting around the campfire and hearing a great story. That's why business fables are successful.
Now, you say telling untruths to reveal the truths, but if you're telling untruths, those used to be called lies.
Well, they're also called stories. They're also called parables. They're also called fables. And we all know that animals can't talk. And yet, I've never heard of anybody who read Who Moved My Cheese and said, wait a minute, the point is very valid that changes in the air, but talking mice, I reject the entire book. So people like stories, and there's just sort of an ease of entry to a story that you might not have, because when there's a business book in front of you, you feel like, okay, I got to sit up, I got to concentrate, I got to get the points, this is going to be on the final. And then with a story, it's just sit back and relax and let it wash over you. And that's why people like fables.
I wonder if you could give the slow people in the audience, me, I'm talking about, an example or two.
Well, sure, of course. And Who Moved My Cheese is by far the most successful, probably the first one that launched the genre. I think it sold more than 27 million copies. It's a story of 2 mice, and they're trying to figure out where their cheese is, and it's been moved. And the moral of the story is that change happens, so don't expect today to be like yesterday. And what made that book so successful is that a CEO would buy the book and then say, I want one for all 26,000 people in my organization. And I want you to come speak and consult and so on. And so that's sort of the prime example of a successful business fable. There are others that people are familiar with. There's one about fish in the Seattle fish market. And there are all kinds of topics. Patrick Lencioni is sort of the modern master of the business fable. What he does is very smart. He tells the story, and then he'll give you a 40-page nonfiction section in case you were sort of too slow to understand the points that he was making in the story. And then there's one called The Goal by an Israeli business consultant, and that book teaches about bottlenecks from the perspective of somebody working in a factory and trying to Eliyahu Goldratt. And people read that book and they say, okay, got it, let's go. So the stories have enormous meaning for the readers because they're able to absorb points that they might not have enjoyed reading in a business book. And they are incredibly powerful for the authors in terms of building brand, building awareness, raising speaking fees, getting speaking engagements in the first place, getting consulting, and just succeeding in life.
Now, people are saying, hey, I tell stories. I read stories to my grandkids or whatever. Storytelling must be just as natural as anything. Do you find that to be the case?
It must be, because when you look at ancient cultures, that's really all we know about them. We know a little bit about how they did business or where they went to sea, but the primary way by which we know the ancient Greeks is through the Odyssey and the Iliad. And the primary way we know the ancient Romans is by what Ovid wrote, or by what the fabulists wrote. We take the word from the Latin. And the same thing is true with ancient Indian culture. It's just inherent in mankind to find explanations for why things are the way they are. It's just what we do. We are meaning-making beings. And in a broad societal sense, that means that we want to understand how the world got here, and how whether there's a creator and who the creator is, and what happened when and in what order, and and who spoke to the, and so on. And then that trickles all the way down through to modern times, where you have uh, uh, the the shamans or the wise men or the wise women in the world, or the business leaders, and they are teaching how to do things, how to think about things, how to make meaning, but they're doing it through story.
Michael, when you go to consult a business person on this issue, what do you start with? How do you teach them this?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. The first thing we do is we ask, who is the audience? Most people, when writing a book, make the mistake of asking, what should this book be about? And this is why most books fail. They fail to get written, they fail to get published, they fail to have an effect on people. The real question is, whom am I writing for, and where do I want to take them? So that's really the starting point. Who's the audience? Who, and sometimes it's the same audience that you've had, your financial advisor, and you want to continue to work with people who have $1 million or more to put under management. Or you might say, I want to raise my minimum to 5 million, and so this book will relaunch me in the public eye. Or you are a dentist and you want to roll up other dental practices, and so you're writing a book to explain to dentists why they should come with you, why they're going to have more money, less strain, better efficiencies, easier management in the office, and so on. So the real question is not, what do I put in the book? The real question is, who do I want to influence? Where do I want to take them? And then once you've got that down, then it's a question of what content will drive people who are the specific audience I am trying to reach to take the steps I want them to take.
So, in other words, you're almost telling your clients start at the end and work backwards.
I am. I'm saying, what happens when the reader puts down the book, and what do they do then? And ideally, I like to say that a good business book is something that, whether it's a fable or nonfiction book, is, it's shorter today. It's 100, 150 pages. So somebody could take it on a flight from Dallas to Chicago. And the first call is to the spouse or partner, honey, I'm fine. I landed, the flight was easy. And the second call is to you, the author, saying, just read your book. How soon can you be over here? That's the kind of result that we're trying to get. And for our clients in my ghostwriting company, a lot of the time we could care less if they sell one copy of the book. It's not about selling copies. I say, put the book up on your website, give it away for free in exchange for an email address. So now you can hit them with all sorts of marketing messages. Put books in envelopes, mail them to 100 CMOs or CEOs or CIOs or whoever your target audience, and just how often do you get a book in the mail from the author, and then follow up with a phone call? It's the cheapest, dirtiest marketing thing you can do, but nobody thinks of that. So it's not about, I'm trying to make $6 selling a copy of the book. A book is not in and of itself, it's not the end in itself. A book is a step in the process of enrolling people in whatever you want them to do next.
Michael, how did you get to where you are today with this philosophy? Tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. I mean, I knew I wanted to write books from the time my dad read Ask Mr. Bear and Winnie the Pooh when I was a tiny little kid. And I've been a library rat my whole life, library and bookstore rat my whole life. I just love books, love everything about them. And it was my dream to write. And I've written tons of novels, and I've published with all the top publishers, and I've done all that stuff. And I'm very blessed in that regard. And at the same time, it's not a steady way to make a living. And I met a business mentor going back now 27 years, and he showed me to start a business that was essentially offering writing classes privately. I rented space in a yoga studio and then in a church and taught the classes. And people started saying, consult with me, and then they started saying, write it for me. And after a while, I noticed that writing it for them was the most lucrative thing I could do. And then I also noticed that most of the people who could say yes on the spot were business people, and not really the corporate types. I don't know how to sell to corporate environments. Just the one man and one women armies, the financial advisors, the consultants, the attorneys, the accountants, the sports figures, the broadcasters, but the individuals who could say, let's go. And those are my folks. And those are the people I've worked with. I think it's over 850 at this point. I've either written that number of books, or my team has, or we planned them, or we published them. But I've had the good fortune to do what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, which was to be around books. And I'm a book nerd. It's that simple.
So there is something about going through those stacks of books at the library that will pay off in the end.
I make a handsome living, Doug, yes. And I have to because I have 4 kids and they keep eating. It's just unbelievable. And,
That is a bad habit I've noticed in children.
yeah, they outgrow their clothing.
Yes.
I'm very fortunate. I had a ghostwriting company until about 3 years ago. I sold it. I was very fortunate to do that. I was there for 6 months with the buyer, and then went off on my own again. And I get to sit around all day and think about books and talk to people who are doing their books and making it's everybody's dream to have a book, and I get to help that dream come true. So I'm not, God forbid, the oncologist. I'm not the dentist, and God bless those people, but I'm not the people you dread seeing. I'm the person you're excited to see because together we're going to make magic, and it's kind of fun. It's really fun.
So you have a person who has a strong personality. They have written their memoir, their autobiography of their lives. You pick it up and read it, and what do you say to them if it is just about the worst thing you have ever read in your life?
Well, I'll tell them have a nice day if I. I mean, if I don't think I can help someone, I guess the question is, in what capacity am I reading it? Did they come to me to edit it? Did they come to me to get it, to try to get a deal? What are they trying to do with this magnificent work of misery that they've created?
What would you have done had you not done this?
Well, just to answer that other, I mean, obviously center field for the Yankees, but
They could use somebody like that.
yeah, but most books can be improved. Most things short of the Pieta can be improved. So if somebody comes to me with a manuscript, the serious point is that I can coach them up. I'll typically write a 30 to 50 page comment letter, the same way my first editor at Simon & Schuster did for me, and show them all the things specifically that need to be done. And then they're very excited, and they go off and do it, or they'll hire me to do the rewriting. So there are ways to take books that aren't quite where I always talk about in terms of we're trying to put some more miles on the fastball. So
one of the things we have talked to entrepreneurs about over the years in these interviews is how do you exit your company? And if you have a 1 or 2 person company and you are the talent of that company, how do you set the value and how do you get out of it?
yeah, you get lucky is the short answer. There are a couple of things I would say. One is don't stay too long at the fair. If you have an opportunity to get out, get out. When I sold my company, my business coach told me I was crazy. He said, just wait 3 more years and then you can sell it for 5 times what you're going to get. And then if I'd waited those 3 more years, after 2 of those years, COVID would have struck and nothing would have happened. So the short of it is that if you have an opportunity to get out, grab it. Don't sit there and say, don't worry about the fact that the guy at the club sold his business for 10 times what you're selling yours. What I had to do was to demichaelize my business. This is the prior business. So it was less about come work with Michael. It's more about come work with Michael's team, with Michael's standards, with Michael's book plan that he's going to create for you personally. It's a little weird to talk about yourself in the third person, but it was really, how do I de-Michaelize the business? So how does Tom de-Tomify his business? Or Sarah, how does Sarah take Sarah out of the business so that what people are buying are Sarah's standards, Sarah's team, Sarah's client list? And I think that's how I did it. And that's what I guess I learned and I was taught. That's what you do if you're kind of running and gunning. At the time, I had a huge team. I had 30 writers. I had, half a dozen editors. I had a huge, huge monthly nut, and I was very happy to get out from under all that.
Nothing like having to sign those paychecks for other people. That brings it home to the typical entrepreneur.
No, it's really true, and that's why entrepreneurs are my heroes, because they can talk about whatever they want to talk about in Washington, but entrepreneurs are the ones who create the jobs in the society. It's not the Fortune 500s, and it's not the government. It's us. It's the entrepreneurs who are writing the paychecks and making the economy grow. And that's the beauty of the United States, is that you have the freedom to say, I'm going to start this business, and all the resources are there to help you, from free consulting, from SCORE to the person at the bank to walk you through things. And you've never had marketing tools like LinkedIn. that existed before. So, there's no excuse for going hungry if you have an entrepreneurial nature. The opportunities are here, like nowhere else on the planet.
Now, what is ahead for you?
More and more fables. You asked what I would be doing if I weren't doing what I am doing, and I've been making the pivot lately from doing sort of fewer business books. We're still doing them, of course, or straight up nonfiction business books, but doing more and more fables. We're working with more and more clients who recognize the value of fable, and then they recognize the fact that with me, they've got somebody who has a storytelling background. My work's been optioned or made by Disney and Paramount, Steven Soderbergh and ABC and HBO and so on and so on. And then at the same time, I've got the business piece, having started and sold a business, having run a business for 27 years, and then having worked with so many business people in so many verticals. So you put that together, and I came to realize this gives me a skill set in terms of writing business fables that I don't think any other writer on the planet has. So that's why people are coming to us for fables. And so if you say what's next, it's basically doing kind of what I'm doing now, which is about 2 fables a month for our private clients. And nobody knows that I'm involved. I'm a ghost. So it's the client's name on the book. And people say, is that legitimate? I say, I have a lawn. I don't mow my lawn, but it's still my lawn. And I'm just facilitating the dissemination of your ideas in story form. And that's why people come to us. And that's why people like us.
Now, we need to tell viewers and listeners where the us can be found. A website, perhaps?
Indeed, a website. You can find me at Michael Levin Writes, Michael Levin Writes, WRITES.com, and there I will be. And if you go to thefablefactory.com, thefablefactory.com, that'll just point you over to Michael Levin Writes. So save yourself a moment and go to michaellevinwrites.com, and you'll see all kinds of nice things, and you'll see how to get your book going.
So you are writing your own fable day by day, are you not?
That's very nice of you to say. I think we all are. I think that we tell stories to we tell ourselves stories to make sense of a bewildering world. We don't know why we're born. We don't know why we die. We don't know why we do anything, and we come up with things that guide us, that give us moral or emotional sustenance, that give us a path. And so, in that sense, we are writing our own stories every day, and that's why I love this country so much. Here, you have the freedom to stop one chapter, start a new one, move. This is the only place I know where you can drive 3,000 miles and no one can pull you over and say, "Let me see your papers." So, I don't know anywhere else I don't know why I'm on this kick right now, but I am. And I love the fact that I live here and I have the opportunities as an American that I have. The government didn't tell me what job to take. And the system here is really established to help you succeed. If you're an entrepreneur, it's all waiting for you. It's all there for you. There are airports full of rental cars waiting to take you to your next prospect. So get back on a plane, get out there. Let's live our lives again. And now that this craziness is winding down, and by all means, get a book from me. That would be my final thought to your viewers.
Buy this book.
Buy your own book. But just have me write it. That's all I ask.
You've been watching the Bizgnus Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. Thanks for watching.